Today on In the Wood Yard, we're smallerizer cherry. We're running the 1412 Plus Blockbuster Firewood processor today, and we're running cherry through it. And I thought I would do a voiceover and just kind of talk about what happens and what we're doing and how it all works and kind of talk it through. So Kenny's running the machine today. He's only running a little bit because I did most of the running when I was up at his place. So now that he's at my place, I am loading with the tractor and he is processing. And so he hasn't really got a lot of time in on it yet. He's just kind of starting to figure it out. And it takes a while to kind of get used to the levers and what to do and get your sequence down as far as what to do when. We're doing resplits right on the spot, which is awesome with this machine. Most other machines that I've used, you cannot do resplits. You kind of have to do them later if you want. And a lot of this stuff I'm selling is for smoking meat, so smaller splits, and for fireplace wood, so people do want smaller splits. There's nothing wrong with those sizes there. They're probably adequate for most people. But most of the people I'm selling to for this kind of wood, they want it a little bit smaller. Basically 3-4 inch thickness, somewhere in that range. What's really nice is that you can just toss the splits right back in there and just resplit them and they're done. So now this machine is about a $33,000 machine versus the one I had before, the 22 MB, which is like a $150,000 machine. This is not as fast. It's a little bit slower, but it costs 1/6 as much, somewhere in that range, or 1/5. But the fact that you can do resplits right away actually makes it about the same speed because I don't have to do resplits later. They're just done. Done. You just reach in and chuck them back in just like that. We find that using the 8-way is kind of the best all-around wedge for almost everything, and that was true of with the 22 MB that we had too. If you get decent sized splits, not too big, not too small, you can raise it up with this one real easily and just do a single split if you want. A lot of times we toss 2 at a time in there, sometimes just 1. And works good when you got 2 guys, because the ground guy, which is the guy that's me right now, I'm shoving that piece in, same guy that does the loading. You kind of make sure the trailer's not overflowing, you even that out, and the guy processing just keeps his hands on the levers, and it seems to work good to have 2 guys. Now I've run it by myself. Well, here Ken brought the tip tray out because you get a bigger chunk and they can fall down in there and then he pulls it back out. So that kind of just holds, that's like your last cut tray, it's called, I think, or final cut. That's your last one that you're gonna do, and then it drops in. This is about, I don't know, 12-14 inch piece, real nice size stuff. I like running this size because you get a lot of wood. He's gonna cut the cookie off here. We find it's always easier to cut the cookie off here than do it at the other end, because if you cut it here, you can split it down smaller or just chuck it into the discard bin, the IBC tote. And we're cutting them in half, usually what we do. And that way they're a little bit easier to handle. They dry better for Bert because this is boiler wood is what's going to happen with it. We may sell some of it eventually, but for now we just throw it into a bin. And then your last cut just falls in and it is done once you can do a resplit here. But yeah, you can raise the wedge up real easily and just do a single split on it if you want. So it works fantastic. It's actually more fun to run than the big machine that I had because it's more manageable. It's easier to run. It's just less stressful. There's not, I don't know, it's more user friendly. It just is. It's more basic. So yeah, pretty cool. Some of you notice the wedge floats. It goes up and down. That's so that it can clear itself out underneath. And we rarely get any kind of a jam with the wedge. All you do is you run another piece through it and it cleans it out, or you take a small piece and it cleans it out underneath because it's able to float up and down. It's not wedging a chunk of wood in there that you can't get out. You can see there where just it clears itself out. At first I thought it was kind of weird, but boy, it is nice. Because I've crawled up inside of processors and pounded on a chunk of wood with a maul, or I've even had to go up in with a chainsaw and cut stuff out. Never had to do that with this machine. You just don't have to. I've never pounded one out yet that got stuck on there. You just ram a small piece through it and it goes through. There's some small ones going through, you can see. So they go underneath, and it's either going to be a single or a triple split or something like that. Once in a while you get a 4-way split. on the small stuff. This is maybe 6 inches, something like that, which is about as small as I care to run. Anything smaller than that, you don't add up wood very fast. The best size wood, in my opinion, oh, we had one go crooked there. And that happens if you go, see that piece he pulled out, that's what caused it. My opinion, the size wood that you get the best production from is 8 to about 14 inch. 12 is like ideal. You just pound them out, just one right after another. Works really well. You accumulate wood fast, and you actually are making a lot of wood. The smaller stuff does not add up as fast, but a lot of the people, again, that I'm selling to for fireplaces or for people that are buying this for smoking meat like this size splits. The small ones, they get flame from it. They can control their flame if they're smoking meat. They add a little bit at a time. They're not heating all night long. They're basically adding wood every half hour to an hour, whatever they're doing in their smoker. You see drop from the live deck, dropping one into the trough and coming across. Just go up to the stick and you cut it. It's nothing too difficult. It's pretty easy. The guide stick for your length there is adjustable. It's very easy to move it back and forth. It's just one little bolt you pull out and then slide it over and it's done. A lot of other processors have the great big elaborate push plates and stop blocks and stuff like that. This is just simple. It just works. See the wood's going into the elevator. See right there, that it's just a fiberglass pole is all it is. And some people call it rinky-dink, but you know what? It works just fine. So there's shoving the wood out and bring the next one in. Still kind of learning the levers there, because if you are efficient, you pull in your next cut while the ram is going forward with your last one. If one falls, it's real easy to reach in and spin it around. It's actually faster than spinny bars and tip trays. And when you're up in a booth or up in a splitting station in a big splitter, I've run several different ones, you're basically not able to do much. You try to reach there with a hook or something and try to pull it out, or a pick or a pickaroo, and you really can't do much. Here you just reach in and fix it. It's fast, easy, simple, and your wood is done. The other huge benefit of a smaller processor like this, very little trash. I mean, you're going to get some bark coming off, a few branches, a few small splits, but overall, I would say a big processor is going to produce maybe 10-15% trash, and a little one, maybe about 1%. Very little trash, just not much at all. Looks real. So here Ken is cutting a piece that's got a kind of a big knot on the backside here, and you can see it'll fall away. It's kind of a rotten one right there. When that happens, a lot of times you'll crush a lot of stuff, and when it cuts, you'll get stuff flying all over the place, which is why you want to be standing behind or have your face behind some Lexan or plexiglass, something like that. Here he brought in the tray, you can see, and then retracted it. Just keeps it from falling into the splitting chamber. And again, the piece is partially rotten right there, but goes through, makes wood, no problem. Here he's going to do the cookie. I think, yeah, he cuts the cookie off here. We've got a mark on the back side where the clamp is. It's actually on the wall of the infeed trough. There's a mark, we just made it with a magic marker so you know where the end is, and that's 16 inches. We also have a mark for 20 inches for when we cut big stuff. You just look around to your right to the side there and you can see it's right behind where the saw bar is. You can't see it from this angle, but at the operator station you can see it. So it works out really well. It's super simple, nothing to it. This is a nice size log. I like this size stuff right here. That's, I don't know, maybe a 10-incher. Really nice. This makes really good firewood really fast, and split really nice even splits. If I could order everything, it would be 8 to 12 inches, maybe 14. Straight as can be would be awesome. Unfortunately, trees don't grow straight most of the time. There's a lot of trees that are crooked. We call them bananas, with a lot of sweep to them, or they're snakes where they curve back and forth, and they're just nasty. Here I threw a piece in there so Ken stopped. He's going to ram it through. Otherwise you have two pieces in there and they can shoot out and do weird things. You might have to lift it. Nope. Sometimes when you got your saw in the actual cut, especially with like ash, it binds real easily, so you got to lift your bar back out and then go back into it. Oh, we almost forgot to get that one, so that happens. Sometimes you can keep the clamp. I run it pretty low, so it's just barely missing the wood, and that way it doesn't, you don't want to have one fall in on you. And that's really bad if you get a big one. If you get a real monster and it falls in on you, you got to crawl in there and try to lift it up, and you know, it can weigh 200 or 300 pounds real easily. You're going to cut in the cookie here again, so just take that out. We throw it into the IBC tote, and that turns into Birtwood, which is good. Here you just drop it in really nice and split, and bring another one in, and I'm going to cut some more here. There you can see the log one. There's one that's kind of a snaky one, kind of a crooked one. See that? It's called a dog leg basically, and then it'll drop down in it. It'll get a crooked cut sometimes, and it'll split weird. But anyway, there you go. We're gonna speed things up here, and we're gonna make a whole bunch of wood. So I'll quit talking.
cherry's done.
Yeah, I'll go dump this one. Well, that's your first real long term running. What do you think?
Well, you just kind of, if it can, got to get in your timing.
Yeah, you can get pretty quick eventually.
Yeah, well, as soon as you retract the splitter, you bring your next log. Your next log should be there before that comes back.
Well, as your ramp's coming forward, I bring the next log in.
Well, whatever, you do it either way.
Yeah, do it at the same time. Yeah, it's pretty slick. It's more fun running than the big one. And it's easy to clean up compared to the big one. Well, it's not as fast.
Not as fast, but fast enough. There's a little money difference too.
Yeah.
So I broke it today.
Well, I'll show you. Turn it off. What happened here?
I broke it. So what we have here is a failure
to connect. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we either drill a hole through this whole thing.
Drill a hole, put a pin in there.
Either that or put a different handle on it.
Or leave the vice grips on.
Vice grips just fine.
You can pull on that really nice.
I know. There it is. That is a little more than 2 full cords. It might be 7 face cords or 2 full cords and a third. Something like that. It's quite a bit of wood. It was more there than I thought, like there always is, but there it is. It's done. I'll push that up. Now this stuff can sit here for a very long time. I don't care if it's here for a week or a month or 2 months. It'll dry really good here. It gets baked in the sun all the time right here. So right along with the hickory, that can stay here till it really dries up really good, and I got time to scoop it up and run it out to the bins and dump it. And by then hopefully I'll have my big bucket. I'm getting a big bucket so I can scoop stuff up easier, getting a lighter one than the one here on the farm. And then tomorrow we've got a delivery first thing in the morning. Kenny's going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday and he'll be here Saturday too, so probably 2 more days with Kenny, so that'll be good. And then we might start right away on this oak tomorrow. We thought about doing this a little bit of pine over here and the ash. However, the oak is what matters the most. I want to get the oak done because it'll take longer to dry, and we've got all that stuff out there to do. So there's plenty to do, but I think what we'll do is we will probably take the big stuff and process it. There's a bunch of white oak, that's what I wrote in here. That's supposed to say WO. So I wrote WO on those there, because there's a bunch of white oak. We'll set that to the side, and then we'll take all of the bigger stuff and we'll take that and put it through the processor and the little stuff in a different pile. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. See you then. Good night, Irene.